You got?
That's got to be coffee or water or Diet Coke. I get drunk about once a year.
Mark, in a few seconds, we're going to be going live. I'll tell you.
All right, man.
It's downloading.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
We are rock and rolling. We are live.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, man.
Welcome to another episode of Police Off the Cuff After Hours. My name is Mark DeMayo. I'm your host, my partner, my co-host in all things law enforcement, the very handsome Bill Cannon is with us. What's up, Bill?
How's it going, man? Looking forward to this show. You know, always with another member of the service, even though it was a long time ago. I think he was a member of the service.
Well,
He was.
Our guest tonight, and let me tell you how excited I can't. I'm so excited. All right, first of all, our guest John DiResta was a New York City NYPD transit cop. He worked in the homeless outreach program there that recently got defunded.
I saw that. I follow everything. I did see that.
He started doing stand-up comedy while on the job. He wrote a one-man show that he turned into a sitcom on the UPN channel in 1988 and 1999. He went on to star in Miss Congeniality 1 and 2. He was also on the sitcom on CBS, Rules of Engagement. Then he had his own show called Trash for Cash. Basically, what you guys did was I read that you got huge numbers in the hoarder community. And then you had a show on HGTV called Hammered with John, where you put your brother Jimmy on. Right. That was in 2006. You also had a parody show about a biker shop on Comedy Central called American Body. And
American Body Shop, greatest gig ever.
To top it all off, Bill, he's a master carpenter. He's a woodworker. He makes some beautiful stuff.
I saw that. That's pretty amazing.
And it's an honor. It's an honor to have you on here tonight, John.
Thank you. That's some introduction, man.
No,
I'm showing his woodworking skills.
Okay, go ahead.
Here we go. He's stepping all over the opening of the show.
What's up?
What's up? Oh, there I am, dude. Look at that. I'm in my underwears. Yeah, that's my old workshop. It's on the watch this. It's on the grounds of a place that rents cars to the movie. So in the background, you'd see cars from Animal House.
Funnest, refreshing woodworking show on YouTube. Basic stuff to teach the Mark Eatons and the Terry Downings of the world how to build stuff. Today I'm making legs for homemade chairs that I make. They're funky. We're only going to make the leg today, nice and simple. This is redwood that I found in the street.
All right.
I'm a mutt that picks stuff up in the street and then turns it into funky pink table legs.
And if you guys want, you can
a cheap dildo for a
Dude, I'm a mutt.
All right.
What's the name of the show? Feedback?
Into a chair leg.
How long
you have to watch the whole thing?
How long did that show last?
He's funny. We got to watch the whole thing. Now, watch this. Hold on. No, I got to dice all this up. There's a lot of info. Out of everything I've ever done, and not to drop names because Michael Caine told me it was rude, but I'm in the movies with Robert De Niro, Sandra Bullock, and you show me on a YouTube show, basically looks like I'm a homeless guy in his underwears. That's the one you choose. There was other clips that could have made me look better. That wasn't even one of my shows, but however, Trash to Cash lasted 7 episodes. The sitcom lasted 17 episodes, became the lowest rated sitcom in the history of TV.
Well,
Hammered. Go ahead.
That was a brand new network, UPN. And, the background, you were a transit cop.
Right.
And that's what your one-man show was based on. Your time.
Right. Being a transit cop in the subway of New York, our motto, you ride, we hide.
I love that.
Which is your famous line. That one-man show, you transformed. You started pitching it as a sitcom, and it got picked up by UPN. but they didn't put the money into the background of it. I remember watching it. It almost looked like a cardboard cutout. It looked.
There was a lot of problems. It was the all-black network for years and did okay. And the year that I got involved, it became the Everything Network, and it lost half of what they had, and they were already in last place. And I don't know, you skipped the beat. My deal was with Disney and ABC. And I get off the airplane after I quit a job that had a pension, a gun, a police ID. It had a lot of clout. I had friends. I quit all that. I get off the plane with my 3 little kids and my wife, and I get a phone call that says, your project has been sold from ABC and Disney to UPN. And I was like, I couldn't even say no. You know what I mean? At that stage, you have no right. And I knew UPN, especially in New York. It showed on Channel 9 right after Bowling for Dollars and the Uncle Floyd show. In my balls with Channel 9.
Well, the messed up thing about all of it was that you retired. You did 15 years.
No, I did 12, dude. I lost everything.
Oh,
I lost it all.
Well, okay, so you did. I thought you did 15, but there was
back then you had to do 15 to vest.
No. Back then you had to do the whole vest. 20.
No. Watch this. Look at all of us. Watch. This is the way I remember it because it cost me a lot of money. I had a big TV deal. I was done. I was out. I resigned March of '98, and you had to have 15 years. I had 12. I'm not joking. I resigned before I moved to LA. About 5 to 6 weeks later, they rolled it back to 5 years. Had I known that, I'd be collecting some sort of pension right now, from the NYPD.
Right.
But they changed it right after I left. I got 2 fingers in the rectum. 2 fingers in the rectum.
Who can blame you for that? Because the truth is, you were getting on TV. You were going to have your own show.
No, understood. And I didn't like being a cop. I look back and I miss it. And I like the guys I worked with. I miss having friends and miss having like a really intimate group of guys that you're stuck with every night that have inside jokes. But yeah, I had to take the leap. I mean, I got into stand-up comedy. I didn't do it for all the beer you can drink, up in the Bronx. You know what I mean? On City Island.
Well, let's go back for a second there. So when you came on, what year did you come on?
I should have been hired in January of '86, but I was suspended from New Paltz College for squirting a fire extinguisher years before. So they had to get a letter from New Paltz to say I was an okay guy. That letter came in June. I got hired July 15th, 1986. I waited online at 360 Broadway, wherever it was, and every guy in front of me got NYPD, DiResta. You got to go to the 3rd floor. And that was it. That was the curse of death. Right. I got off the elevator, and a guy was smoking a big cigarette, 8 inches long, the brown ones, like Kojak. What's your name? I said DiResta.
Dangerous.
And this is, you got your assignment that day on a Friday, and you started Monday. And a guy looked down at a piece of paper. He said, DiResta, welcome to the New York City Transit Police. Take a seat or sign that paper and leave like everybody else does.
What was the paper that you were supposed to sign? That you're going to wait?
I don't know. But like I said, had I gone on in January, things might have been different. I sat down. It was me and one other guy. And I looked at the guy. I go, dude, what's going on? This doesn't sound good. And he just goes, my brother's transit. It ain't so bad. That was the first way I got introduced to it.
Well, that paper that you might have signed would have been to put you back on the list.
Right. Again, that's funny that you asked that. I don't know that. I don't know if it was to leave forever or, So I became a transit cop in July 15th of 1986.
So you were from Long Island, though, right?
I was born. I just realized this a week ago. I was born in Queens, so I'm a real New Yorker. I'm legit, like you guys. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. But I grew up in Long Island. My dad moved 1 mile. We're the first town in Long Island, Woodmere. The 5 towns, you guys know it?
Yeah.
Bucks. Heavy duty Jewish area. A lot of
yeah. Remember in what was the Goodfellas? She's a Jew broad from the 5 towns.
What did you know about the New York City transit system?
Nothing. You know what you did when you grew up in Long Island? You got drunk on St. Patrick's Day. You got drunk and go to see Van Halen. You got drunk to go see Ozzy, Twisted Sister, Iron Maiden at the Garden. You didn't even take the subway. You took the Long Island Railroad.
And then
You got off, went to your event, and went home. I knew nothing about the subway.
Upstairs, then you go downstairs and you didn't see nothing of the city.
Nothing. I don't think I was ever, if I was on a subway before I became a transit cop, it was once, and I don't even recall it.
So how did that feel?
It was a heartbreak. It's like getting a sitcom with ABC and Disney, and they send you to UPN.
Your whole life is like that.
Dude, it was such a hard, my whole life has been like that. It's funny, 50 times over. And I'll tell you briefly. So July 15th, when we start on Monday, we get there Monday, and when did you come on, Mark?
92.
Oh, okay. So there's 53 guys in our company, and 5 of us with transit. And I sat down next.
Academy.
What's that? 20th Street.
Where?
20th Street. No jacket, no hat. You wore your own civilian outerwear.
Oh my!
We were the last class that didn't have that stupid ass Nathan's White Castle hat.
Going overseas.
Did you get a chance to mingle with the real cops?
Well, yeah. Again, in my company was 53 guys, and 5 of us were transit. So we were already like, they might as well have put us up against the wall the first day and like and thrown stuff at us. That's what we were treated like from day one.
I remember there was always a time when we were learning something in the academy, and they were like, "Well, you guys are transit. You don't really need to know this."
Yeah. You guys, yeah. Even the first day, a guy comes in. You guys are in for the greatest career of your life. Exciting. You're gonna be the life of the party. You get to carry a gun. You get war stories. And someone goes, Eskenazi goes, "What about what transit?" And the guy's like, I'm my brother-in-law. He quit. He sucked it. Yeah, I don't know. Transit.
You know,
they didn't even
transit for people that are in other parts of the country don't understand. But one of the dangerous things about being a transit cop is A, you work alone. B, you inhale that steel dust for 20 years, which is horrible for your lungs. That's another thing where guys in transit have an extra danger that, cops on the street don't have. But working alone is pretty dangerous.
And ready for this? Ready for this?
Ride, we hide, right?
You ride, we hide, but watch this. How about the fact that you can get involved in something and your radio doesn't work at all? How about you get involved in something and you don't even know your location? You're from Long Island. The last time you were on the New York City subway, you were urinating in your pants at the age of 15 because it was St. Patrick's Day. Now you're in a fight, an armed or a shootout, or in a wrestling match on a moving subway train, and you have no idea the next stop to call for help because you have 2 days on the job. Or you're on a run from Howard Beach to Rockaway, that's 13 minutes, no help. Or 59th Street, Columbus Circle to 125th Street, 8 or 10 minutes with no help. It sucked, and it smelled like piss.
Hey, tell me the joke. What's the joke? I'm going to go stand over here in the corner.
Oh, yeah. I'm out here in L.A. every now and then. I'll go on an audition. And at least this is a long time ago. It's 22 years since I left. But a lot of, especially, they'll read your bio and they're like, "Oh, you're the guy that was a cop in the subway, the transit guy. What was that like? You must have, it's been great experience, like life experience to work in the subway. What was that like?" And I go, "You want to know what it's like to be a New York City transit cop? Go out in your garage in the hottest day of August, piss in the corner, and then stand in the puddle for 9 hours and 35 minutes alone with a radio that might work if you're standing in the right spot." My first call as a New York City transit cop was a guy having an epileptic fit in Coney Island. I went over the radio. It didn't work at all. It didn't work. I had to leave his side, go to a payphone and dial 911 with the whole crowd looking at me. And I'm yelling because I'm thinking the guy's dying. You ever see that, epileptic fit? They're not fun to watch. I call 911. Well, yeah, it's Coney Island. The rest of the radios, yeah, I need help. I go back. The guy's standing up, laughing with everyone, brushing his coat off. He came out of the thing and like nothing happened. And I'm sitting there with my, like, who's the asshole now? I'm running around like a chicken with his. That was the first night, and I said to myself, this sucks, and I don't want to do it ever. I don't want to do this for another day. So what did I do? I took the test again. Medical, physical, psychological. They look at my asshole. They look at my balls. Skippy makes fun of my genitals.
Oh, you met Skippy. I love
Dude,
it.
He's my idol. I won New York's Funniest Cop. For real, legit, the first time they had it. I don't know where Mark was at the time.
Yeah.
But Skippy was New York's Funniest Cop. I give it up to him.
Tell our audience who Skippy was.
Mark, did you experience Skippy?
Mark came on too late. He didn't meet.
No, I remember Skippy. He was at
watch this. If he said he came on too late and didn't know Skippy, I was going to shut my computer right now and quit your show.
He was at Left Rack. Yeah, I remember him.
So Skippy was this old-time New York City detective that got shot in the head. He had the bullet on his keychain. And since he had to deal with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of douchebag cops and wannabe cops, the toughest New York guys, the black, Puerto Rican, Jewish, Hispanic, Italian, and he put every single last one of them in their place. He was Dice Clay meets Howard Stern meets Don Rickles. He was the fucking man, and he had a gold shield, and his little revolver was so old it was fused to his holster. You could see it hadn't come out of the holster in like 39 years. It looked like it was just one piece of bird shit that weighed like 4 pounds. He couldn't.
And he chain smoked Luckies, and he drank.
He chain smoked
coffee,
and he would flick the ash on the laugh roll. He was the king. He was the absolute king. So when I came back through, you guys don't know, I went back through with my gun, my shield, my shoulder holster. I'm walking around like I'm John Wayne, and there's 90 civilians going, he's on the job. What's it like? I had 1 year on the job, transit. I went from Columbus Circle for 6 months, ride the train 8 at night to 4 in the morning. I said, forget this. At least I want a better commute. And I want to go to a place where it's known that no one does police work. District 34, Coney Island, called the Magic Kingdom, the greatest command ever. When the shit hit the fan, guys did what they had to do, but until that happened, it was sleep, cruise time, ride the rides at Coney Island. So watch this. Hold on, I had 1 year on, and I'm peacocking with the gun and badge. And Skippy goes, look at this guy. Someone said, hey, how long do you have to keep the weight off? How long is probation? And Skippy goes, I'll show you. Transit, stand up. Stand up. I stood up. I got the gun and the badge. He goes, this is what happens when you eat your way through all 5 boroughs. When you're on your hands and knees like a mule, eating your way all the way to the end of Staten Island. That's what happens. And combine it with free food. He ain't passing nothing if he's trying to switch over. It was hysterical.
You know, I was sitting in the room, and all the new recruits are coming in, and this female cop or recruit comes in, and she's dressed to the nines, and she's beautiful. And he smokes. He goes, hey, doll, the beauty school is down the block. This is the police department.
You know what he said? He said something to a girl. He said, every one of you go to community college from East Cupcake. If you guys remember, that was what he was one of the East Cupcake guys. Yeah. I had to have a 70-pound pack on my back. You had to have military. He goes, none of you is even in the military. And some girl must have put her hand up in the front. And he goes, what branch of military? She goes, I'm in the National Guard. He goes, you're a weekend warrior, sister. You're a weekend warrior. And I don't know what she did. And he goes, don't look at me like that. It hasn't worked in 15 years. Like she tried to flash him the flashy eyes or something. Yeah, how about this one? A friend of mine went. He didn't get hired, but he went. And he said, everybody, I'm warning you now, in 15 minutes, everyone's going to have to get naked. And we got to look at your rectum and your genitals. And if you don't like being naked in front of 50 complete strangers, start getting psyched.
Could you imagine him trying to be on the job now? They would fire him.
Oh, it's a different world.
Well, watch this. I want to do the movie about him. I want to play him in a movie, and the language and the material, they might not even let you do it.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a nicer story about Skippy. I lived in LA. I went back to do Governor's Comedy Club in Long Island, in Levittown, the White Harlem.
Yep.
I
grew up, that's where I'm from. I'm from.
I'll talk slow. No, so after one of my shows, I was in like the bar at Governor's, and everyone's like, "Oh, funny show," you know, one of those, you know, I went to high school with you, nice, fun atmosphere. And a woman tugs on my shirt and whispers in my ear, "Do you know who I am?" I go, "No." She goes, "Detective Rafferty was my father, and he would be proud of you."
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you.
Yep. That's amazing.
That's a great story.
So hold on. Guess what happened? I passed the medical, physical, psych, everything. I'm supposed to go. Now, this is a true story. For the first time ever, someone said, "Hey, if they're transit or housing, let them roll over. Let them roll over. Don't make them, you know, just if they get transit again, give them what they want." The night before I'm supposed to go, I empty out my locker. All my buddies, you know, friendly in Coney Island. I'm going to be a patch master. I'm going over to Big Brother. That's what we called you guys. Did you know that? I'm going to be Big Brother. The night before, not so quick, DiResta, your day off tomorrow has been yanked. You're on call for a court date. I go, "You got to be," and I've never arrested anyone in the full year, never even arrested. I go, "What do you mean?" They go, "A cop named Eden Natoli arrested a bum when you still worked in Manhattan. You were the witness officer or something, and I had to be on call to go to in case they call me to this trial, and I missed my assignment day. I had to take my stuff, go back to my locker, go back to Coney Island, and wait 6 months. I had to remain on the job, still transit 6 months. The day came, I emptied my locker, going to be Big Brother. I get online, DiResta, "You got to go to the 3rd floor, guy." Dude, I got transit again, and I started to cry, and I said, wait a minute. Didn't they pass some rule that if you get transit, you're automatically NYPD? I was like, I remembered. Guess what the guy said? "Your union fought that. That was only on last 6 months ago." I would have got, my whole life would have been different.
Oh.
I got transit a second time, had to go back to work and get a locker in Coney Island. And that's, I just said, forget it. I'm not trying to switch.
Well, you said something interesting right there. You said your whole life would have been different. And that is,
100%.
well, but not for the better.
Well, no, I know that. Watch this. I met my wife through a different transit cop. I became a comedian because I was so miserable. Had I gotten NYPD, the stage fright, because I always wanted to be a comedian, but the stage fright got me bad. It got me really bad. I introduced a band in high school called Moist Sheep, and there was about 200 people. This is my first time on stage. I wore my dad's suit with the white belt and the white crack shoes. I introduced this band. As I was introducing them, out of the darkness, I got hit with a Frisbee right on the bridge of the nose, and I saw blackened stars in front of the whole crowd. And I think that might have been deep inside me. That and the combination of if you bomb and don't get laughs, you know, who needs that hassle? But I was so miserable as a transit cop, I had to become a comedian. Go ahead.
Well,
I'm saying if I got NYPD, I might have gone to a Harley Davidson unit, you know, did something I liked as a cop. And I would have been like, oh, I can't be a comedian. I'm too much into this, or I want a gold shield. You know what I mean?
You might have dabbled in it. But at that point right now, when you were a transit cop, you realized, I don't want to do this. I got to do something else.
Yeah, there was one point where I just said, forget this. I'm going to look for a way out. And it just kept coming up that comedy was not only a relief, because as a cop, I had 2 or 3 young kids. I got married very quickly. Then I couldn't quit. I can't drink. I get gout. I used to get gout. You ever get gout? Like a white trash animal, your toe swells up.
I've had it, but not. I know.
I used to get gout a lot, and then you can't smoke pot because you're a cop. They drug test you. You know, as much as I didn't like it, I'm not going to smoke pot and lose my gig. And all of a sudden, comedy. I was on the homeless outreach bus, making all these bums laugh. We used to call them clients. because you can't say over the radio, yeah, bring up that smelly bum from Times Square. We got a bag of bum bait sandwiches. And one night, my partner, God rest his soul, Mike Venkis, he passed away just recently.
He said bum bait.
Or bum chum out in Rockaway Beach. We called it bum chum. And guess why, dude? There was this is the blue wall of silence. I'm going to break it. There was a quota. You had to get 8 bums a night. There was a quota. And if it was below 32 degrees, you had to get 12 clients / bums a night.
But when you say you got to get them, you're basically going to bring them to a shelter so they can have a place to sleep indoors.
Right. No, it's all voluntary. I'm saying you got to go down the subway and ask people. You got.
What is it that you do? You talk to them. You say, "Listen, come with us. We'll get you a bed tonight."
We only would do that. That's called working a station. We would only work a station when we didn't have calls. Usually, we had calls all night. We were the original Uber for bums. We were the Uber. We would be in Yankee Stadium at 8 at night. Dude, at midnight, we'd be at like a bank vestibule where 4 people got in, like homeless people, to stay warm. Then we'd be in Rockaway Beach, and it was all plain clothes except for the flea collar. It was a good gig.
What? The what?
Except for the flea collar. The flea collar, hence fleas. But watch this. So we would pick them up, and that was job security. You know what I mean? If we picked up 3 guys here, 2 guys there, 5 guys here, boom, we had our quota. We had our 8 bodies for the night. Do you know what I mean?
But you put them in a van.
Put them in a van or a big bus, a city bus, and take them to the shelter.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to tell you something that no Hollywood writer could ever write, ever. We would get 10 or 15 clients. And you know what station we worked the most? Right at the base of the Twin Towers, right where that church was. The backside of some church, there was a subway station. And we would work that station. We'd get our 8 or 10 bums. We would drive them. Oh, the sergeant would come, give us a scratch. We'd say, hey, we got the most clients right now. Come now. We would drive the bums to the Fort Washington shelter in Harlem. And you're supposed to take them to the shelter, step inside and say, hey, HOU, transit, we have 7 clients. Have a nice night. We would park right in front of the shelter, and then we would walk the clients right back down the subway, open up the gate, and say, see you guys tomorrow night. And they would go right back in the subway, and each one of them had a little bag of bum bait with them, like a shitty sandwich and stale milk and a dented up peach.
But why did they prefer?
Because they didn't even like the shelters. Shelters are nasty. They rob each other. They were really getting on the bus. We became friends with them. They were getting on the bus for free cigarettes, free clothing, the bum bait, and helping us out. It was a big jerk session. They knew that some of them knew, like the second Sergeant Clem Batson got off the bus, they were like, all right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like everybody knew the game.
It's like when I used to pick up people for fillers in the lineup.
Right.
And I'd go to Ward's Island to grab them. Well, not to grab them, but ask them if they want to be part of it. And then, they get their $10 afterwards. And then you want to drop them off. So I'm ready to bring them back to Ward's Island. They're like, no, we'll just get off over here, which was like 125th Street in Lexington. And I don't know where they all went after that with that $10, but they went.
Dude, it's funny. A lot of people don't know about that. We used to drop off certain clients at different shelters all around Manhattan, and people would run up, line up. They would think that they're going to get $10 from us to do a lineup. Uh-huh. But we would give them food. Everyone in the unit liked homeless people because we weren't doing police work. We weren't doing car stops. We went to calls that, if a cop needed help, we were there. But other than that, after we got our scratch, we were toes up, sleeping, or hanging out at a comedy club. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. And one of the guys in the unit named Willie Rodriguez, retired as a lieutenant, he used to, can we curse on this thing?
Yeah, sure.
He used to fuck the female homeless clients.
Uh-huh.
And we used to go, Willie, that's disgusting. And he had the greatest answer in the history of the human race. He used to go, you never know what's under those 9 ski coats.
Let me just give a little shout out to our chatting people. Mimi J2,
this is
that
the best show ever.
Cliff Yates is actually listening, Mark.
Good.
I know Cliff.
Nico,
yeah, Cliff is great. He's
MC
Cliff. The last time I was supposed to do a gig with Cliff, he didn't show up. It's the one gig he missed in his whole life. He knows which one.
Peter Pranzo, the legend lieutenant from the 3-2. Gemma's Journey. 12-step woman. You guys, anyone I mentioned who's not subscribed to us, please hit the button and subscribe to Police Off the Cuff on YouTube. We'd appreciate that. Here we are, Police Off the Cuff after hours. Continue, gentlemen.
So I did 5 years in Coney Island on the train, riding the train, and then I became Coney Island. Then when you get off this train patrol, you get a station or you get 5 stations and you work whatever hours. And Stillwell Avenue, Coney Island, where 4 trains stopped from 4 in the afternoon till midnight was my steady station for years. Stillwell Avenue, Coney Island, like the Warriors.
Yeah.
Wanted to get back to Coney Island.
Yeah.
And guess what's the number one reason I took it?
Because
So when I had to defecate, I can go on a clean toilet right in the precinct. That was it. Or when you're on lunch, you could sit and watch Star Trek, or you know what I mean? You could sit in the precinct.
You must have learned that from Skippy.
so
And when you're right outside the command, it's like, yeah, the rest of 10-1, they need you to sit here and watch this. The rest to come in 10-1, you got to take a ride. Oh, I was out on foot patrol. The rest of 10-1 forthwith, whatever which one was come to the precinct. I run in. I go, what's the matter? They said Vinny Mosca and Vinny Coco are in the RMP, and Vinny Coco's wife just passed out. She's pregnant in Staten Island. And we go, in case Vinny's going to go off duty, we go lights and sirens in a transit ice cream truck. If you remember those things, they were like a half-ass SUV. Lights and sirens on the Belt Parkway in the left lane. And there's an Indian cabbie doing like 70, and we're trying to do 90, and he won't move. And over, I don't know how much we can say, but over the loudspeaker, one of the Vinnies was like, move it over, Haji. Move it over to the right, Haji, to the right. And he was saying way worse things than that, and it's going to kill me that I can't say exactly what he was saying.
This is like a comedy show, man. I'm sitting back here and enjoying these jokes.
But it was being right outside, and Coney Island, a lot from the summer and a lot of holidays was a festive, fun place. You know what I mean? People, as much as you're in the subway with angry, ugly people that hate their life, on a Sunday in the summer, everyone's coming to Coney Island to have a good time. You know what I mean? And then 8 hours later, they're all leaving drunk out of their minds. And that's when, stuff used to happen. Like all of a sudden I had to earn my money.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? People are drunk and high.
When did you start doing comedy?
I was on the whole, that's what I was getting at. I was on the homeless outreach bus. I had about 6 years on the job. We were making the homeless people laugh every night. And my partner, Mike Venkus, was looking at the Village Voice, and it said, young comedians wanted, all you got to do is bring a couple of paying customers. And he looked at me and said, dude, this is what you should be doing. You should think about this. And then I was like, because I've been making excuses for years. I don't know where to go. I didn't, you know what I mean? I just stage fright. And then he said, John, look at this. There's a thing called a comedy class. And I'd never heard of such a thing. And like, finally, my mind opened up to like, wow, I could do this thing for 8 or 10 times, not in front of a crowd. I can kind of get my feet wet. And I lived in Harriman at the time. We moved from Long Island. I'm one of those schmucks that did the upstate drive for, good schools. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, it's like, blizzards and no friends ever and 7 tolls. So we lived in Harriman. I got off at 6 a.m. I drove. My wife opened the front door. She had a crying infant in each arm. They were 11 months apart. A crying infant. And I said, I want to be a comedian. I want to take this class. It could take 10 years to make a dime. Obviously, I'm going to remain a cop. We got a good salary, but I want to give this a go. And there was a long pause, and she said, I want another baby. She had an infant in each arm. I want another baby. And I said, you know what? If I got 3 kids, I got to try and look after and feed. And, I said, I got to have to make this work. I said, no problem. And I joined the comedy class in June. And Shannon was born like 6 months or a year later. And again, right out of this comedy class, like within weeks, I grabbed $50 here. I grabbed 100 here. I was like, there was money to be made.
Early on?
What's that?
Did you start off doing your cop material?
No, I started off doing You Ride, We Hide. I'm a transit cop, and the theme, yeah, without a doubt, right away, because it's easy. It's what happened that day. It's, you know, basically the theme of my stand-up act right away was when you're told, all of us, everybody watching this show, and especially us three, are told, you get the badge, the gun, the pension, the benefits, it's all set for you. But no one tells you that it's $308 a week. You're going to work nights, midnights, holidays, subway, transit, smells like urine. Every one of your sergeants is a complete jack-off asshole because they were beat up in high school. Then they were beat up on patrol and made fun of, and then they got their little tiny stripes, and now they were going to get even and make you wear your hat. You didn't have your hat on. Did you have white socks on? I hated being a transit cop so much. I used to get suspended like 6 times a year. When I look back, I had a lieutenant sit me down and go, dude, why don't you just quit? You should quit. Why don't you quit? You're not happy here. I said, I got 2 infants at home. You know what I mean? But I started doing the open mics. I was in the same as you. The open mic circuit in New York City is a cesspool. It's a cesspool. And I always say, pedophiles are nicer guys. Go ahead. Question.
Well, what are you talking about? Well, that's an interesting thing you bring up because the open mics in New York City are very cliquish. So, for example, until you befriend everybody, if there's 25 people that signed up for this open mic, right? You know, if I'm not friends with yours, I'm not going to watch your set. So if you're because there's so many people to watch that you're friends with, you got to sit there. So if you don't know somebody, you'll go by the bar. So if somebody's brand new, and now all of a sudden a room of 15, 20 people, you know, listening to your jokes, there's like nobody in there anymore. And
right.
You know what I'm saying?
There's a few rules out here in LA. There's a few open mics that you have to stay the whole hour. You have to support the rest of the room. But what happened to me was, here's another thing I didn't tell you guys. I went on duty as much as my hours shifted and my commands. I went from the Bronx to Coney Island to Brooklyn to Manhattan. I really been around the block. And the homeless outreach moved, and we had to drive to different places. And for years, we were in Tribeca, right down the block from all these hip restaurants. And we watch this. The homeless outreach was the main lobby of a building that people lived upstairs. It was the craziest, weirdest setup. 181 Hudson. If anybody is out there listening. And all of a sudden, just as I got out of the comedy class, our command changed to Tribeca, Lower Manhattan, and we went on duty at 9:30 at night. And as Mark knows, every open mic is at 8 or 9 o'clock. So now I was like, boom, all I got to do is leave an hour early for work, get a set in on a cassette tape it, and then that night, go over it with my buddies and my cop buddies and literally critique it and make it funnier. So I got into a very good rhythm because of the time I started.
Here's an interesting thing that I remember about you because we've worked together and we did a show in Vegas together. You had your book with you, and inside your book, you had exactly how many sets you've done since you first started. Bill, this really impressed me. I mean, John it was at that time, it might have been, 12,000 or there it goes. Look, that's the book.
Holy shit.
That's 2 nights ago. What number is that?
I don't know. I can't see. Let me put my glasses on.
That's 2 nights ago.
I'm looking for the number. No, I can't see the number.
Right here. Can you see my face? 6,100. Oh, because I do it in a graffiti-like font.
Yeah.
6,184. Yeah, and this is book 159. Everywhere I look, dude, there's notebooks. Hold on, look. This whole room is stacked with notebooks. I'm like a weirdo. Here, look at this one. This one's a little beat up. So what number is this one? This is book 142. And then, right, I could look in there and see, like, I could literally look up into the night of 9/11. You know what I mean? And what I did and what I said. It's
the most amazing thing, Bill. I mean, when he told me that in Vegas, and he goes, "Oh, this is my," it might have been like 3,656 set. And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "No, look." And he showed me. You showed me the book, and I was like, "Are you serious?" And that is amazing. The way that. Well, let me just go backtrack one more thing, okay? I want to go way back a little bit. Well, not way back, but
Go ahead, dude.
So you're doing comedy, and
The homeless outreach, and I'm going on. Go ahead.
Writing this one-man show, but there was a certain amount of aggression that you had because you didn't settle for just doing your comedy and doing the show. You wanted to pitch this thing. It's so.
Let me tell you, that was a third party because again, I was just wanted to be a stand-up that made money on the weekends and maybe, quote, got famous. But my two brothers are in the toy business, and they were working with a toy company that had an office in Manhattan who invented a toy called Sky Dancer. When you pulled a string, she had arms like a propeller, and she would fly in the air and then come straight down. She looked like a ballerina with the wings. Long story short, they came to see me on set 72. So you saw last night, I did 6,184 at the Fourth Wall in North Hollywood on set. 72 was a bringer show at Caroline's, and it was packed with transit cops, their families, my in-laws. It was one of those nights where it all came together. And my opening joke, set 72, I've been doing stand-up about a year. I did 72 sets that first year. From the time I graduated the class, this is 1 year. And my opening joke, the timing was right. I followed one or two people that weren't that funny, and I came out. I looked at the audience. I took a long pause, and I just said, I'm not having a good day. I tried that phone sex, and the receiver got stuck in my ass. And then I let the joke land, and it got a bigger laugh and a bigger laugh, and it turned into an applause break. And here I am on stage 30 seconds. And it looks like I'm the king of the castle. Like it just worked. I don't even think I can take a longer pause now, and I've been doing it 25 years. It worked perfect. The whole set worked good. You ride, we hide, blah, 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 blah. And that night, my brother pulled me over and said, hey, the guys from the ballerina that flies company, the toy dancer, whatever it was, that have a little extra money, they want to do maybe a one-man show. They want to develop that theme of, once you become a civil servant, you think it's all done. You got your whole life set. Next thing you know, you're divorced. You're 30 years old, living in your old bedroom with your Twisted Sister posters, and your wife gets half your check automatically from one police plaza. They cut half of, you know what I mean? That was the theme. And this is a true story. I lived in Monroe or Harriman, one of those, East Cupcake, and we had no long distance.
That's North Cupcake.
Yeah, North Cupcake. We were so broke that I had to call this company about my one-man show that Mark thought that we all came right out of here. I had to call them from the payphone at Grand Union, pumping nickels and dimes that I found on the floor of the car. And that was the beginning of my one-man show. And they said, hey, keep banging it out on the weekend, keep it personal, keep it, about the transit and and your dads love a garage sales. And they sent me to acting school. Like we like a kind of a group of us put together that one-man show, and then it became like, oh wow, maybe this could be a sitcom. Like while it was being developed, the sitcom idea came out of that, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. A lot of your jokes also are about how broke you were at the time when you had the kids and you were a transit cop. And there's something, you just fit all the bills at the time. Like right now, you're in good shape, but you were a chubby cop. You're a donor to you.
Oh, well, watch this. The weight thing was, I tell everybody, I graduated the police academy tomorrow, 34 years ago. Tomorrow, that's December 18th. And on a footnote, December 16th, 2 days before I graduated the academy, my brother hit 22 brand new cars drunk driving. So my poor parents had one son handcuffed to a bed with a fractured skull in Far Rockaway, Queens, and the other son graduating 2,900 guys. I heard I was in the largest police academy class ever. 2,900 of us graduated tomorrow's date. And the reason I bring up all those dates is I was in the fat squad. They used to weigh us in front of everyone in our underwears to embarrass us in the police academy. And in the fat squad, I was 205. And here it is 34 years later, and today I was 201. But to answer. I was up there. I was up to as far as 260 at one point.
Yeah,
I had the big man tits. I had a fupa.
But it's funny though, because regardless of what it is, it's you fit the bill. You were chubby.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Back then, just the whole package. It came together.
It all fit.
And watch this. Here, Mark, here's something you never thought about. The reason it got rolled into a sitcom so quickly, let me mention Kevin James, Ray Romano, Roseanne, blue collar sitcoms, buy their act, turn it into a sitcom. And if it hits, it's like printing money. Literally. Ed Burns told me that. If you get on a hit show, whether you're the producer, the owner, the actor, the guy, it's like you have a money machine that prints money. So the studios, it's not that big of a gamble. We think it's the greatest thing ever, right? My life's going to change forever and ever. And I told a lot of people this. Having your own sitcom is not the greatest thing in the world, especially when it's not funny. I found it to be not funny. Joe Badalamenti, who was New York's, he came in second in our contest, and him and I are still buddies. He asked about a certain someone the other day named Mark DeMeo. That's you, right?
Yeah.
He said to me, he texted me, he said, "Hey, do you know Mark DeMeo?" I said, "Yes, he's very funny. He's a good guy." And I think he was just curious that he found out you were a comedian.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But let me go back 22 years. While the sitcom was up and running, this is how unfunny it was. Joe Badalamenti called me and said, "Do you have any idea how unfunny this fucking show is? I mean, I know you live out there. Everyone's telling you, ha, ha, ha." He goes, "It has no redeeming value." And it had my name on it, DiResta. My point is, I don't know what the point was.
Well, but, you bring up Joe's name, and when I first started comedy, I never mentioned that I was a police officer because I wanted to keep the two worlds separate.
Oh, see, no, I went right in for it because I thought it was different.
I just didn't trust that. I thought maybe they might make me stop. You know what I'm saying?
The job. No, I researched a little bit. You know who got fired? Ralph Murphy. Do you know Ralph?
No.
Ralph Murphy is a New York City cop and comedian that got fired for being a comedian. But you finish your story and I'll tell you Ralph's.
Well, I used to, the comics knew, because obviously they're my friends. They knew I was a cop.
Right.
So they'd always go, "Do you know Joe Badalamenti?" I'm not saying his name right.
Badalamenti.
I may have met him in passing. If he just asked like that, maybe not. But I always I heard praises about him, and I heard praises about you. And it's funny because then there was this big gap. Like since I wasn't talking about being a cop, I did comedy for 15 years and never mentioned that I was a cop.
Wow, I never knew that. See, I knew that great opening joke about Meet the Family.
No,
you know what? Somebody in New York Comedy Club, it might have been. I had seen you for the first time.
I remember that.
But I was saying, someone leaned over to me and goes, "This guy's a cop." I go, I mean, I know everybody that's a cop that's a comedian. And you had the long hair. You look like a rapist.
But with that, I remember that night too. But when I retired, that's when I had and I wanted to do the one-man show, which I did, called 20 and Out. But I basically I followed your path. Do you know what I'm saying? You were like somebody that I said, okay, this is what he did. It was successful. I'm going to do that. And that's what I did. I wrote the one-man show. I put it in the Fringe Festival. I toured with it. And I might bring it back, with obviously some additions. But it's I just wanted to say that I followed. You've always been somebody that I followed your path.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, bro. Like I said, I had a lot of help with production, with these producers that helped put it together. And then there was a press person, what looked as organic as it did, it was orchestrated. And it was orchestrated right into a humongous legal battle when it turned into a sitcom. I've had every peak and every valley in this business you can't imagine. How
long did the sitcom run for?
17 episodes, which isn't a bad run, but it became the lowest rated sitcom in the history of TV, on a network, quote unquote. And like I said, it was kind of, as much money as I'm making, everyone thinks it's the greatest thing. It was kind of an unfun process because the name of the show was DiResta. and it didn't have my vibe. You know, I've realized that my woodworking shows.
Showrunner, how did that work out? Why didn't you have control of it?
You have control of very little. I mean, I could tell you in detail from contractually to the real deal. Like most people think, because the sitcom's named DiResta, that it's my sitcom. But that big chunk, that big chunk of money up front is what pays for the rights to my life.
No, I get you, but I'm just saying, if the showrunner is smart, he's going to pull you in, and he's going to be like, "Talk to me. What should we do?"
No, it exactly didn't. You know how many times I was in the writers' room on my own sitcom? Once, and that was to tell them we had the lowest rated sitcom in the history of TV. About 10 episodes in.
Well, that's why it didn't work.
It didn't work. There was no vibe between him and I. No vibe. He was jammed down my throat.
And you know, as police consultant, and you know, if you have a resource, use it.
There was. Guess what? I don't know if this is public knowledge. Do you know why they say Seinfeld hit so much?
Why?
Because Seinfeld would bring in out of work broke comedians, guys that were just misfits that he knew was hysterically funny. And him and Larry David would pay them to write the silliest thing that's ever happened to you on the subway, the silliest thing that's ever happened to you on Christmas vacation, the silliest stupid thing you ever saw at a bar mitzvah. And they put this stuff in the show. As compared to, on my sitcom, I had 9 guys that all wrote for 6 other shows that were like, you know, and we know you're a cop from New York that worked in the subway and did 6,000 sets, but I was nominated for an Emmy for Mork and Mindy. Yeah. I mean, that's the attitude you're dealing with. You know what I mean? Like in the pilot episode, I had like a $900 leather coat. And I said to the director, dude, I used to wear a jacket that I bought for 50 cents from a garage sale year in and year out. And I go, now you have me in a $900 leather coat. And, you know, he said, no one's going to notice. And then I said, bop, bop, bop. And I said, that's not the way I talk. No one's going to notice. No, and guess what? Everyone noticed. Yeah. Especially Joe Badalamenti when he called and said it has no redeeming value.
Yeah, but
do you understand?
You did it, even though you just had the one season on the show. Next thing you know, you're in Miss Congeniality, which was a blockbuster movie.
But Miss Congeniality still pays 4 times a year. Residuals 4 times a year, 20 years later. That's the one. I mean, and dude, I went from my own sitcom, and I don't know if you know this, right before the sitcom started, I did The Tonight Show. I'm the only comedian in 90 years of The Tonight Show that did couch on his first instance and then auditioned to do stand-up 10 other times and didn't pass. My first and only time on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, I was a panel guest. I sat down with Jay Leno, and he said, were you really a New York City transit cop only 6 weeks ago? And I said, look at me. That was the setup. The audience started laughing. I got cop hair, 3 chins, no neck, man tits. I got a fupa. I got a fat upper pussy area. And I'm a man. Then the sitcom went down, and Caroline's called and said, hey, the sitcom, they thought the sitcom was still on the air. So Caroline's had me on, had me do a weekend for a lot of money. And they got me on the Howard Stern show. And right before Caroline's Greg Charles, great guy, called me and said, the only way you're going to be on the Howard Stern show to promote your Caroline's thing is you have to talk about having the lowest rated sitcom in the history of TV. If you're not willing to talk about giving up your pension and this thing turning so horribly, Howard Stern and Baba Bohai don't want you on. I said, no problem. I said, you got me. I did Howard Stern and killed. Howard Stern is my idol. Howard Stern is a living legend. And to kill on Howard Stern is one of the greatest things I ever did. Not only did I kill, he said, hey, John, you're kind of funny. Do you want to stay for the next segment? I go, what is it? He said, to judge 6 girls that want to be in Playboy. And I died and went to heaven, not because of the girls, because my zingers, when they're inviting you to zing someone's personal appearance. And then watch, here's a funny story. We went to break. So now John DiResta is staying for another segment. All right, everybody, we're on a break, 6 minutes. I said, Howard, I just want to tell you, you're my idol. You're my idol. I said, I love you so much. And I'm looking him right in the eye. I said, I love you so much that I have 2 cats named Howard Stern and Robin. And it's a true story. And he goes, oh, that's cool. Do you still have them? I said, nah, they became a pain in the ass. So I set them free in Middletown. I put them in a cooler and I set them free at a Burger King. And he goes, oh my God, what'd you tell the kids? I said, it's a true story. I said, I told them they left the door open and the cats ran away because of them. And Howard Stern goes, oh my God, that's horrible. And all of a sudden, Baba Booey goes, that whole story was on the air. That whole story was on the air about John DiResta setting his cats free at Burger King. That's a true story. My kids' pets, I set them free at Burger King in Middletown because I got sick of them. And their names were Howard Stern and Robin. Oh, and guess what I did? I did 2 shows that night at Caroline's with Steve Marshall, my buddy. You know Steve?
Everybody that you're talking about. I know Greg Charles. I love him. I know
So watch this. I get on an overnight radio show. The guy died. Remember, he was really ugly. Hannity and Combs, Joe Combs, Pete Combs, David Combs. We do an overnight radio show. John DiResta, Jimmy DiResta, my brother, Steve Marshall, Tina Georgie, comedian and school teacher, the host, Larry Combs, whatever the fuck his name was, and guess who the final guest is?
Alan Combs.
Alan Combs. Guess who the final guest was? Bernard Goetz. What's up? Subway Vigilante. I wrote the greatest joke in the history of the world. On air, I shook his hand. I said, hey, Bernard, I just want to tell you, you did more for Subway safety in 12 seconds than I did in 12 years. Hey, you want to hear a funny story for you people at home? Do you want to explain to them who Bernard Goetz was? Because I have this real story of what went down that night. I'm the only guy on earth that knows what happened on that train. Do you want to tell your audience?
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, I'll tell. Bernie Goetz was a subway rider. What year was it?
84. Chambers.
1984.
Chambers on the 2.
And a group of kids came up to him and asked him for $5. And he said, I don't have $5. And they said, give me $5. So then he took out his gun and he shot them all. And then to one of them, he goes, you look like you're okay. And he shot him one more time.
Right. You look okay. Here's another.
Yeah.
So none of them got killed. One is in a wheelchair. Did you know that?
Yeah.
One was paralyzed. Okay, so we all know the story that they circled them. They had a screwdriver. That was their weapon. So it's literally at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. He goes, I'm going to go downstairs and catch a cab, and the radio show is over. And I said, hey, can we give you a ride? My brother had this big Mercedes Benz. And we're going to drive Bernard Goetz in front of the comedy stores. And we're going to go, the Comedy Cellar. We're going to show everyone on earth, Colin Quinn. And we're going to find David Tell. And we're with Bernard Goetz. John DiResta is with Bernard Goetz, like he was a star. So we're waiting for the elevator. It's dead silent. And I said to Bernard, if you don't mind me asking, can you tell me what went down that night? And Bernard Goetz goes just like this. Well, I was on the train and 5 black guys surrounded me with a screwdriver. So I shot him. And he had this look in his eyes that he was looking for trouble. Where everybody, remember the controversy was, should he shot him? Should he not shot them? And it looked like he got a kick out of shooting him.
Except, you know something? He was never indicted.
No, he only he got a gun charge.
Weapons possession. Yeah. That was. But the thing was, those kids that surrounded him, they were all bad kids from Brooklyn. They all had rap sheets, and all of them wound up in prison except the guy who got paralyzed.
Yeah. Yep. And here's a great comedy story. So I got good money. I get Howard Stern, Bernard Goetz. I headlined all weekend at Caroline's, and a couple that met on my their first date was my one-man show. Came back to Caroline's to the green room and said, we've been married for years because of your one-man show. There's been a lot of stuff like that. And I did the Sunday night show at Caroline's, which as a comedian was the most relaxed. I was a little bit uptight. This is Caroline's. I'm the headliner. And, the Sunday night I wore more loose clothing. I just had more fun on Sunday night. I felt that, okay, I kind of went through again, I can explain each show, but the Sunday night show was the funnest with Steve Marshall's direction. Thank God for him. But I go back and Monday night on Sunset Boulevard, I auditioned to be a regular at the Comedy Store after I just done Howard Stern, headlined Caroline's, bop. I do 3 minutes at the Comedy Store, and what's that lady's name? She fails me.
Mitzi Shore.
Mitzi Shore says, I don't want to imitate. I don't want to be rude. Where you going? I'm not done. What, are you going to the bathroom like the quarterback?
No, I just had to shut the sound off.
Would you go over there to fart?
No, the alarm was going to go off, so I shut it off.
No, so Mitzi Shore failed me on that Monday. I eventually passed, but just it's a funny footnote that, you do all this stuff in New York, get back to LA, and you're just another scrub waiting online.
Like the clubs are not connected. One doesn't care what you did. The one just there's no.
It's crazy. Watch this. When I did again, not to reiterate the Tonight Show, but I did the Tonight Show, and I said to a friend of mine, "Now I do Letterman." Right? I literally thought when you did one, you did the other, and I had no idea that one thinks of this, of you, of you know what I mean. There's no, unlike civil service, there's no ranking. You know what I mean? There's no, you dig what I mean?
But now you're in LA. And
right, 22 years.
No, but I'm saying back then, you get to LA, you leave the job behind. You do the 17 weeks. It's done. Now what?
I had a little bit of money in the bank, and I took on a big rental. I took on I was living like a black guy with a hit record. I was living like someone who had a sitcom that was in the top 20. I had a sitcom, and this is a true story. The newspaper out here used to rank 1 through 100 every week. And every week I was 98, 99, 100 in prime time. 98, 99. Telemundo was 95, 96. And I was 100. And I even had an accountant at the time he said, dude, you're living like you got a hit show. You don't have a hit show. There's only so much money that, because things were coming in. I thought when you do a one-man show on 42nd Street and it hits, then you get the Tonight Show and it hits, and then you get your own sitcom and it hits, and then you kill on Howard Stern. I just thought I was climbing the ladder, and then I got very lucky. So the sitcom ended, and about 3 weeks later, I get a call to audition. Even when I was on Howard Stern, he said, well, now your show is done. What are you doing? I said, I just had an audition to be in a movie with Robert De Niro called 15 Minutes. That was on the Howard Stern, March of 99. April, May, I auditioned like 7 times for this part in the movie 15 Minutes. And every time I went in, that guy's from Goodfellas, that guy's from CSI, that guy was in Godfather. So I didn't think I was going to get it. And little by little by little, it came down to like 4 of us that were going to read with Ed Burns. I was looking to play Ed Burns' partner. So again, I had a little money in the bank. I had, I was on my own sitcom, and now I'm auditioning. And here's the greatest thing ever. And I had a dream about him last night. Ed Burns and I went to the same high school. Ed Burns and I had the same circle of friends, but I never met him. He was 4 years younger than me. So my brother knew him. We had the same group of friends. My best friend is Sean O'Rourke. Sean O'Rourke's best friend from Catholic school was Ed Burns. So here it is. And I had sent Ed Burns a psycho letter.
You know who Ed Burns' father is?
Yes, he was in the NYPD media. But did you know him?
He worked in DCPI. And his father was like famous with all the journalists and stuff. And I think that's sort of what helped him get a little bit connected in show business.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So I went in to read. Oh, I had sent a psycho letter years before. Do you guys know what the psycho letter is? Hey, put me in your movies. I'm an actor. We grew up together. Like I sent it to his dad's address, the dad you just spoke about. Like a mutt. I'm like Rupert Pupkin over here in my balls, chasing after the guy. So I was embarrassed to meet Ed, but I want to be in the movie with Ed. Ed walks in Santa Monica in this little beach house, and I knew he was coming. And he walks up and he goes, John DiResta. He's got a high-pitched voice. He sticks his hand out and shakes it. And I go, Ed, I just want to say I'm sorry. I sent a letter to your dad. I'm not a psycho. And he goes, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. I never saw it. So here I was worried for 5 or 7 years that I was going to meet Ed, and I sent the psycho letter. And the next thing he says is, holster that weapon. That was a joke about a girl's nose on Howard Stern, and we busted out laughing. He had listened to my whole Stern thing and memorized all my zingers. not memorized them all, but had 5 or 6.
Yeah,
And we shook hands, and he smiled at me, and he goes, "I'll see you inside." Like, he kind of gave me a look like, dude, he's already repeating my jokes. And then once we got in the room, I was like, Sean O'Rourke, Heather Nicosia, you are my brother. You remember my brother? Like, I literally saw the director sit back and go like this. So I got into the movie 15 Minutes with Ed Burns and Robert De Niro. And then I had a quick one here, 1 or 2 quick funny De Niro stories. Every single night, and again, let me clarify, I'm not an extra. I was Ed's co-star, partner, whatever in the movie. And I'm watching a Robert De Niro movie every single night to do my homework. And the next day I'd say, hey, I watched Rupert Pupkin. Hey, I watched, whatever. So he's sitting all alone in a Chinese restaurant, completely empty, over in the corner. No matter where we were in the world, we're in California. He always reads the Daily News and the Post. And he's all the way in a corner reading. He's reading the New York Post in California in a Chinese restaurant. And I shuffle up and he goes, yeah, how you doing? I said, good. I go, look, I'm doing my homework. I'm watching one of your movies every night. He goes, yeah, I am. You told me. Goes back to reading the paper. I go, I watched Ronin last night. Ronin with the car chases in Italy and everyone's after the metal case. And I go, look, you got to tell me what was in the metal case. The whole movie, they don't tell you. I go, what was in the metal case? And he goes, how the fuck do I know? And he goes right back to reading the newspaper. It was the funniest thing. Did you ever see Ronin?
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, they gave me my $9 million. I didn't even go to the premiere. I don't. What are you busting my balls?
John, let me ask you a question.
I'm not gay.
No, do you even know my name?
Bill Cannon.
Oh, I'm shocked because you haven't shut the fuck up for an hour straight.
In my balls.
Wound up like a doll.
In my balls. I'm a transit cop.
Like the woman doll you were talking about. Shut the fuck up for a minute.
In my balls. What were you, housing?
No, NYPD, homicide.
When did you retire?
2011, October 2011.
Oh, wait, then when did you go in?
January 21st, 1985.
Oh, okay. So you were
I did
a
almost
year before me.
Years.
What precinct?
I was in Manhattan North Homicide my last 10 years. I was a sergeant.
Nice. Where did you do the foot patrol? Like in your early
Started out
days?
on the Upper West Side, and then I wound up in the 20, 24, 26. Then I went to street crime, and then I went to the 24 when I got promoted sergeant, and then I went to the 2-3 in Spanish Harlem, and then I went to homicide my last 10 years.
There was a guy in my company who was in the Dirty 30 who got fired for being some kind of criminal. Would you happen to know him? George Nova.
Yes, he was a dirty motherfucker, that guy.
He was in my police academy class. He sat next to me. Didn't he order somebody to get killed?
Yeah, he was one of the dirtiest, that guy. I think he went to prison.
I heard he went to prison too. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
There was a guy in my company sat next to Nova, was another guy. You know how they'll put feelers out to get you to join the department, but even you might be from the gay community or you don't know about cops per se. So Fred Welch sat next to Nova. Fred Welch was a 6'6" black guy. And the first day, I think I told you, guys are going to be working nights, weekends, holidays. So you're going to have an exciting career. And without missing a beat, big black guy raises his hand and says, we have to work nights and weekends. And holidays. He had no idea he had to work nights, weekends, and holidays. It was the funniest thing.
But you're in LA now, right? And
right.
Just like New York, there's a lot of people moving out of LA. Crime is up over there. Do you feel anything?
There's a lot of homeless encampments. I mean, like you can't believe. And now they're coming to my neighborhood, a lot. And here's something you guys probably don't know about. A DA got elected in Long Island. In Los Angeles, got elected last month. That's come out with the sickest, craziest, this is no longer illegal, this is no longer illegal, and we're going to look out for the criminals. And he legitimately said all over the news that resisting arrest is no longer a crime. So not only have people started to move out, there's a lot of speculation that if this DA doesn't get recalled and he stays, that crime's going to go through the roof. So I've noticed a little bit of it, but I can't stand cold weather anymore. It's like I can't move back. I can't even look at snow. You know what snow looks like to me?
We got
An
it.
abortion. It looks like an abortion.
We got it today.
We got it today. We're buried today.
I can't even look at it. It looks like a car accident.
There's so many homeless people now in LA. Do you ever feel like getting the van out and just picking up, getting some?
Well, it's funny you say that. Bum bait. It's funny you say that because my wife's a fantastic cook. And whenever I say my prayers to win lotto, I don't know if you guys say prayers to win lotto, but I always do every night. And when I say my prayers to win the lotto, I always promise to God that I'll set up a whole series of vans and outreach called Hollywood Homeless. And we would help the homeless. So, yes, I try and stay away because most of them are psychos. But, I'll give a guy $1 here, $1 there, food. Like right now, tonight, we have a whole bunch of leftover chicken. And my wife said, what do you want me to do with it? And it's raw. And I was nice enough to say, just give it to me raw. These bums will eat it, right? They're hungry. It's protein.
Did you think about moving?
I could never move back. Whenever someone asks me that, I always,
let's say.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm open to anything, but here's the deal. I make pretty good money as a woodworker, but it's taken me 22 years to build up a clientele. You know what I mean? But if I got up and left and went to Phoenix or somewhere else, I could still build stuff and sell it pretty quickly. But also, you got to remember, I have 3 kids in their late 20s. So if I have any grandkids, I don't want to be too far away. And I think you have a couple of kids. It's as old as they get, they still need their father around. You know what I mean? I'd rather be close than 500 miles away. And watch this. I think you guys know this, but let me reiterate it to your listeners. People go, you don't miss New York. You miss the weather, change of weather. Like you don't miss like Christmas when it's like 12 below. You don't miss that, the change of seasons. And I say, you know what the change of seasons can do? They could suck my cockroach. It's 80 and sunny, 365 days. Weather is not even a concern. To wear a jacket is not even a concern. And it's one less thing to worry about, the weather. And on top of it, we buy marijuana in a store. We don't buy it at a gas station from a guy named Hector on a 10-speed bicycle. We buy it in a store. And I live in North Hollywood, if you guys know anything. There's more pot stores than there are Starbucks. There's 2 pot stores next to each other. Can you imagine when the one opened and the next guy's like, hey, how you doing, guys? What are you going to be selling? Pot.
Yeah,
and hold on.
Legalized it.
What's that?
New
Jersey legalized it, but to get to the point where you could just walk in off the street with no license is going to be, it's going to be a long time. We've been doing it for, you know what I'm saying? We've been doing it for a long time. And there's no humidity, dude. Humidity is for saps.
I suffer from arthritis. Bill just got his hip replaced. He's got a bum shoulder from playing football. So the winter, I feel the storm coming.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, I feel it in my knees and my elbows, everything. I'm like, how come I don't want to get out of bed? And I'm like, oh, the storm's coming. I could feel it.
Well, it rains here twice a year, and I could feel the rain coming in my balls. That's where I could feel the rain coming, in my balls. Dude, I can't take, if it goes below 58, I'm like freezing in the corner, like a maggot. I'm a maggot.
You gotta, what? I just want to go back to one point. We were talking about comedy before. You're talking about that pause that you took after a joke, and Bill's a comic as well.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay, Bill.
6 years. 6
Very
years
funny.
in.
All right. Are you not being funny tonight on purpose? No, holy shit. That's a zinger. That's what we call a zinger in Long Island.
You have to get back to me.
That's a zinger.
The one thing, I don't write down my sets the way you do in the book, but I do take chances. I started taking chances with pauses.
Yeah, dude.
It's an amazing thing how far you can go with it. Like,
Yeah, and also you could test it. It's fun. It's fun. It's an eat. Watch this. And Bill, I'm going to tell you this as your comedy coach. I'm going to volunteer now to be your comedy coach because I zinged you. Every single night or every other night or however often you do sets, you get to test stuff and it's free. There's no heavy lifting. All of us have had real jobs where we had to lift stuff or stand in security. Remember? And you guys ever work security for $10 an hour in Harlem? You got to check your bag. You got to check. Why I got to check my bag, motherfucker? We've all done that to do stand up and to tape. I can't believe every night I work with guys and they don't audio or videotape. I go, Badalamenti, if Badalamenti listens to this, which he will, he called me once and said, you really think you should tape every set? I said, Joe, part of the reason I do the set is to review it. Like, in other words, it's not just to make these schmucks laugh that is sitting in front of me. It's to go, oh, drop a word here, add a pause there. Oh, if I smirk, I can get away with saying something nasty. But you can't know that if you just do a set and go home. I mean, you could memorize, you can remember 10% of it, but here's 110% in your phone.
You are you doing video recording now?
I always videotape every set on the phone, and it fills my phones up. But I not only do I tape them, I go over them. I got to admit, I had a set last week. I took the edge off and did the set, and it didn't go that. It was only 5 minutes, but my brain wasn't connected to my mouth. It was one of those where within 30 seconds you go, ay, 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 why did I come here tonight? And I didn't watch that set back. But if I did, it's probably not as bad as I thought. And there was one or two. There's always something on each set that you went, oh, that'll work next time. Always. Or, or it's a new bit. You know what I mean? Or it's the beginning of a new bit.
So we've been we're over an hour right now, Bill.
Hour and 15, I think we're at.
You want to do a shout out to anybody who was listening? I know we got.
We just started going live on YouTube, and we're trying to build up our subscribers, and we have live chatters here. Well, look at this. We got a bunch. 12-step woman. Thank you. Retired Sergeant Melinda. Peter Pranzo, of course. Mimi J2. Needless to say, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com, Police Off the Cuff, MC's Audio, Nick O. If I missed anyone, thank you so much for listening. John DiResta is a great comic.
Thank you, man.
Funny.
I'll be back anytime. Are we done?
I
just got started. I haven't started talking about my cock yet or my balls.
John, one other thing. San Francisco has an even worse DA than L.A. They got the guy whose mother was one of the Brinks robbers, Catherine Bowden. And her son is a San Francisco DA. I mean, you can't make this shit up. Catherine Bowden was given a job as a professor at Columbia University. Her and her crew killed 2 cops in Rockland County about 30 years ago.
Watch this. There's just to make a little connection, there's a professor at Columbia in Manhattan, and his name is John DiResta. And it's not me. Thank you.
It's crazy the way the world is flipped. Unbelievable. Especially, from where we come from. To just bring it all the way back around, the world that we grew up in, as cops and just in New York City. And we tolerated and we fought crime. We did all these things, right? But it was a different world. You know what I'm saying? And now you didn't have, maybe you did, and we weren't paying attention, but you didn't have people who are mayors that were directly connected to somebody who, killed 2 cops. You know what I'm saying? So it's a different world now.
Yeah, it makes me super sad. And I'll tell you this is not in the news. This is nothing. There's a comedian who I guess I'm Facebook friends with him. I don't know. He lives in Tennessee. He lived in LA for a while and he moved somewhere else. And he has got this video, it's 15 minutes of him holding up a camera, like really busting a cop's balls for pulling him over. Really, I got my rights, blah, 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 blah. And out of the 600 comments, every single one of them agreed with the guy. where if you watched it or Bill watched it or I watched it or Badalamenti watched it, we'd be like, this guy's a douchebag. The cop pulled him over because he had whatever tail. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't believe that every single person agreed that it was okay to treat this cop like a piece of shit. And it makes me super, super sad. You know, someone asked me about Trump. Someone asked me about Trump winning or losing the other day. Oh, my doctor. And I said, you know what? The one good thing about Trump losing is that there's not going to be riots where poor cops that are 25 years old are going to get their eyes burnt out with lasers, or they're going to get hit with a hammer or get piss poured on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is my plumber, Sebastian, the plumber.
I can't.
Well, on that note, tell Sebastian the plumber that he's got
look at that. Fucking, and they're off. That's a tin cup. But anyway, hey, real quick. Also, the New York accent had a value. I don't know if you guys know that. I'm just saying, if we all continue on in this path of what we want to do, my voice is in 3 Steven Spielberg movies. I'm in Catch Me If You Can, The Terminal, and War of the Worlds. I'm in a Loop group. Do you know what a Loop group is?
That was one of my favorite movies.
Which one?
Catch Me If You Can. What you doing there?
I think Leonardo DiCaprio is running through a train station in up near you in Scarsdale, or what's another name up there? Mayo Pack.
Harrison.
One of those. Go back and watch the movie. And as Leo, as I like to know him, as Leo is running through a train station, and I guess Tom Hanks might be chasing him, you hear, the next stop is the Bronx. Next stop, South. It's me in the background. That's all. It's me as the,
I get disqualified from every role I audition for because of my New York accent.
Oh yeah, well that's what I'm saying. It cuts both ways.
Yeah.
I'd rather have one
Midwestern douchebag to do this one.
Yeah.
Well,
but thank you guys for having me. I'll come back
You
anytime.
were great, man. You were excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Hey, listen, to all our fans out there, man, please check out the Patreon, Police Off the Cuff, at patreon.com. Thank you, John, for sitting down with us tonight. And
Great hair.
Bill,
in the hair department, he's winning. I don't know who's funnier, but
he's over 10 years younger than me,
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, though? If you come to New York City, Bill's on the side of every bus. He's got an ad that runs for Monroe College. And he looks so handsome in it.
That was
So
a
he
long
wins
time ago.
every time.
He's in an ad called Living with HIV.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
you.
John. Thank you for coming on. Police Off the Cuff signing off.